All right, so Fantasy Premier League Game Week 24, big decisions coming up. We're going to take a deep dive into some popular transfer targets, maybe some surprising hold recommendations, all based on one expert's Game Week 24 analysis. And you might be surprised by some of the moves that folks are making. But our goal here is to help you see past all the hype, make choices that'll actually work for your team, not just following the crowd blindly, right?
Yeah, it's very easy to get caught up in the frenzy of the transfers, but sometimes the smartest move is to hold steady, or even kind of zig when everyone else is zagging.
It's true. It's
Yeah,
true. So let's start with Anthony Gordon of Newcastle. Over 100,000 managers are transferring him out. Seems like a no-brainer, right? Newcastle has Man City, they've got Liverpool, they've got West Ham coming up. I mean, yikes.
yeah, it does look scary, but our expert actually recommends holding him for one more week. This week, Newcastle plays Fulham at home, and that's not a terrible matchup. He could still bring in some points.
Okay. So it's about looking at the immediate fixture, not just the long term.
Exactly. It's about maximizing your points across all the different game lengths. In the long run, transferring Gordon out does make sense, but don't make a sideways move this week unless you really need to free up some funds.
Gotcha. So long term. Who are some interesting replacements for Gordon?
One option is Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford. He plays the full 90 minutes pretty much every week, takes penalties, and Brentford's got a good run of fixtures coming up.
Yeah, I see a lot of people talking about Mbeumo, but just break down why those things are so important in Fantasy Premier League.
Sure, so those factors all kind of mean he has a high floor for points, consistent playing time. That means more opportunities for goals, assists,
Mm-hmm.
and earning those bonus points. Penalties obviously offer, direct goal scoring potential, and good fixtures generally mean a team's more likely to win, which translates to clean sheet points for defenders
Mm-hmm.
and more attacking returns.
That makes a lot of sense. So Mbeumo's a solid pick, but is he someone you need to have on your team?
He's a great option, especially as Gordon replacement, but not essential if you've got other priorities or players in a similar position. It all comes down to your own individual team needs.
Okay, cool. Speaking of players everyone seems to be jumping on, Justin Kluivert from
Yeah.
Bournemouth. Almost 500,000 transfers in. He's on fire lately. 43 points in 3 weeks. Is this just FOMO in action?
I mean, it's understandable why people are excited about him.
Yeah.
He's performing well. And Bournemouth's underlying data, which looks at things like shots on target and chances created, suggests that their good form might continue.
There was always a but.
Right. This week, Bournemouth play Liverpool at home. That's not exactly an easy fixture for an attacking player to thrive in.
Yeah, so hold off on Kluivert for now.
Yeah, our experts suggest waiting until Game Week 25 to bring in any Bournemouth players. Their fixtures really open up then. Southampton, Wolves, Brighton, Spurs, Brentford.
Yeah.
You'll have a much better chance of seeing returns.
Wow. That's some serious fixture planning there. Makes sense. Now let's shift gears to a player who's being shown the door by over 200,000 managers. Chris Wood of Nottingham Forest. A blank last week, and Gakpo's double game week for Liverpool makes that swap pretty tempting.
Yeah, a double game week where a player has 2 matches instead of 1 is a big draw in Fantasy Premier League. However, our experts suggest holding on to Wood for at least 1 more week.
I'm a little surprised by that. Why hold?
Well, because this week Nottingham Forest is playing Brighton at home,
Hmm.
which is a decent fixture for them. Wood is a proven goal scorer, and this could be a good opportunity for him to bounce back.
So it's about weighing the immediate points potential with the long-term value of holding a player.
Exactly. If you absolutely must have Gakpo this week, it's not a terrible move to transfer Wood out. But if you can be patient, holding on to him might pay off.
Okay, so potentially hold Wood. What about Cole Palmer from Chelsea? 2 blanks in a row. Over 100,000 transfers out. Is it time to cut our losses?
Our expert actually believes the time to sell Palmer has already passed.
Really? Why is that?
It's all about his upcoming fixtures. Chelsea has West Ham at home this week, and then Southampton at home in Game Week 27. Those are great opportunities for Palmer to get some points.
So if someone still has Palmer hold unless they're desperate for funds to make other moves?
Exactly. Don't panic sell just because of a couple of quiet weeks. Look at the bigger picture.
Okay, I like that mindset. Finally, let's talk about Gabriel from Arsenal. Over 75,000 managers are transferring him out, ahead of that nightmare fixture against Man City.
Again, the logic seems sound on the surface. But if you're transferring him out for a single game week defender, it might not be the best move.
Why is that? It seems like anyone playing against Man City is doomed to concede goals.
Well, remember, it's about thinking beyond just this week. Arsenal has some decent fixtures after Man City. Leicester away, West Ham at home, and Forest away.
Plus, Arsenal might have a blank in Game Week 29, where they don't play a match, which means you might want Gabriel back in your team then anyway.
Exactly. You might end up having to use 2 transfers. One to get rid of him now, and one to bring him back later, when you could have just held it.
That's a really good point. So think long-term, people. Don't panic.
Yes. Sometimes the best move is to just hold steady and trust your gut.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. And I have to say, I'm a little surprised by some of the experts' recommendations. What really stands out to you?
What I find fascinating is how many managers are jumping on the Kluivert train despite that tough Liverpool fixture this week.
Yeah, it's like they're blinded by those recent hauls, forgetting to consider the short-term risk. It's a classic case of FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah, it highlights the importance of patience in Fantasy Premier League. Sometimes it's better to wait a week, assess the situation, and then make your move.
Especially when you consider those tasty fixtures for Bournemouth from Game Week 25 onwards. Those who jump on Kluivert early might end up regretting it if he blanks against Liverpool.
Absolutely. It's a good reminder that chasing those short-term gains can sometimes hurt your long-term prospects.
Okay, so we've talked about players coming in, players who might be worth avoiding for now. But what about the players worth holding on to, even when everyone else seems to be panicking?
Those are the real heroes, the players flying under the radar, who could deliver consistent points.
Exactly. Like Chris Wood, for example. Over 200,000 managers are ditching him after a blank. But our expert suggests holding tight for at least one more week. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that assessment. One blank game week doesn't mean a player is suddenly bad. Chris Wood is a proven goal scorer, and Nottingham Forest has a decent fixture against Brighton at home this week.
Right. Easy to overreact to a single bad week, but sometimes it's better to have a little faith in your players.
Especially someone like Wood,
Yeah.
who has a history of scoring goals. Remember, consistency is key in Fantasy Premier League.
So we've got Wood as a potential hold. Any other under-the-radar players you think are worth keeping an eye on?
Cole Palmer from Chelsea is an interesting one. 2 blanks in a row have led to over 100,000 transfers out. But our expert believes the time to sell has already passed.
I'll admit I was surprised by that. Why hold on to a player who hasn't delivered recently?
Well, because as we discussed earlier, those upcoming fixtures for Chelsea look very promising. West Ham at home this week and Southampton at home in Game Week 27. Palmer has the potential to explode in those matches.
Plus, he's playing for Chelsea. I mean, they have so much attacking talent, it's only a matter of time before they start clicking.
Right. It's a gamble.
Ah.
But sometimes taking a calculated risk on a player with potential can pay off big time in Fantasy Premier League.
Okay, last hold candidate to consider. Gabriel from Arsenal. Over 75,000 managers are jumping ship, ahead of that daunting Man City fixture. What are your thoughts on that move?
I understand the fear, but again, it's all about context.
Mm.
Arsenal's fixtures after Man City are quite favorable. Leicester, West Ham, Forest. Those are all winnable games for a team like Arsenal.
And don't forget about that potential blank game week for Arsenal in Game Week 29. If you sell Gabriel now, you might need to buy him back later at a higher price.
That's a crucial point. Sometimes holding on to a player, even through a tough fixture, can save you a transfer and potential headaches down the line.
So the key takeaway here, don't panic. Don't let one bad game week or a tough fixture cloud your judgment. Sometimes the best move is to stay the course.
Exactly. Trust your gut. Stick to your strategy. And ride out the storm. You might be surprised at the results.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've analyzed the trends, dissected the experts' recommendations, and hopefully helped you see beyond the hype. But now I want to turn the tables and hear from you, our listener.
Yeah, I always love hearing from our engaged audience.
Imagine you're looking at your Fantasy Premier League team right now. You've listened to our analysis, and you're about to make a transfer that goes against the grain, a move that most other managers are avoiding.
A contrarian move. Very interesting.
What player are you bringing in or holding on to that everyone else seems to be overlooking? And more importantly, why are you making that bold decision?
It's all about thinking for yourself and finding those hidden gems that can give you an edge in your mini leagues.
We want to hear from you. Share your contrarian transfer decisions and your reasoning in the comments section. Let's spark a discussion and see what unconventional strategies are out there.
Yeah, we're always eager to learn from our listeners and see different perspectives.
Because in the world of Fantasy Premier League, sometimes the road less traveled leads to the greatest rewards. So be bold, be creative, and don't be afraid to go against the flow.
Absolutely. It's all about finding your own path to Fantasy Premier League glory.
All right, that wraps up our Game Week 24 deep dive. We hope you found this exploration helpful. And as always, we encourage you to keep that conversation going, share your own observations, and maybe even debate a few points with your fellow managers. That's what makes Fantasy Premier League so engaging, the constant strategizing and the community aspect of it.
Yeah, it's a game that truly sparks a lot of passion and analysis. Everyone trying to outsmart their rivals. And sometimes those unconventional decisions are what makes the difference.
That's a great point. So as you finalize your Game Week 24 squad, remember, it's not just about blindly following the trends. It's about understanding the why behind the moves and making decisions that align with your own unique strategy.
It's about digging deeper, looking beyond the surface, and finding those hidden gems that others might miss.
And most importantly, have fun along the way. At the end of the day, Fantasy Premier League is a game, and games are meant to be enjoyed.
Absolutely. Embrace the challenge, the triumphs, and even the occasional setbacks. It's all part of the journey.
Well said. All right, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into Game Week 24. Good luck, managers. May your arrows be green and your captains deliver those double-digit hauls.
Happy Game Week.